finally did it, people. We managed to get a start relatively right. I think we completely dominated the first 10 minutes and we managed to get the first try. Makes such a difference when you can start out ahead without that constant fear of like how many more points are we going to get on us, how far behind before we start to turn things around. So that was a big positive for me, getting that first try there in pretty emphatic form as well there from AFB. So well done to the boys, took one stress away from me in a pretty scrappy game there. Hey team, welcome back to the Warriorholic. Final session here in Tokyo before I head home on Thursday. So starting to feel like the boys after they've been on the road. So bear with me. We'll try and keep the passion up for a few minutes here. Well, what a game, eh? Just finished watching it back for the second time. Took a bit of time to sort of absorb things. It seemed really, really scrappy on the day, and like we were making it really hard for ourselves in so many areas of the game. But in reflection, we actually did bloody well. I'll go through the stats in a minute. Considering how many stats were against us in the past, that could have been a 20 or 30 point drubbing, particularly against a team like the Cowboys. Granted, they aren't really firing, but they still had a lot of good players on that team. If we'd actually given them the opportunity and not defended our mistakes, we could have got a real spanking. So I'm really proud of the boys. Identified a couple of areas here I think that really caused the game to get messy there for us particularly. So we'll take a look at that as we go through the stats. Again, I'd love to put up a few graphics and things here to make it a little bit easier for you guys to understand, but just the whole weight of this thing once it gets a little bit long and trying to upload it with this crap internet. For this last one here in Tokyo, I'm going to add a little bit of it and explain things verbally. So 26-14, we'll take that. It's a solid win. 5 out of 7 now. 2 in a row against the Cowboys. Granted, as I said, they're not playing great, but shit, I'm glad we got these up on them, because once a few of the guys go into Origin, they might start to find their mojo, and there could be a bit of a handful in the back half of the season. So it's nice to get them out of the way, give ourselves some confidence. So as it sits right at the moment, we're third on the ladder behind the Panthers, who've had their bye. So in reality, we've had more wins than them. So we're effectively, if you didn't get points for the bye, we'd be sitting clearly in second there. If anyone had said that going into the season, even those guys like me who are really, really excited to see what Webby could deliver, having listened to him speak and seen what we did in the preseason games, I don't think anyone in their wildest dreams would have expected us to be up here. So I'm absolutely stoked. Quick look at the team or the stats from the game. So 4 tries for us against 3 from them. Adam Fanor-Blake, Kossi, Curran and Walker for us. Tuolangi, Cotter and Holmes. Shit, they came close to getting another 3 or 4 tries there that luckily we sort of put enough pressure on them. They dropped balls or put hands in touch or so forth. Those get awarded. What happens, the whole game would have changed. So you can't say, coulda, shoulda, woulda there. But, we defended them. So at the end of the day, we got 4, they got 3, we won. Possession, 44% for us. Man, when was the last time the Warriors won a game that comprehensively on the back of 44% possession? So the last I heard during the game there that I managed to take a note of, the Cowboys had more than 60 tackles in our 20 for only 3 tries. One, that's a reflection on how crap their attackers, but also the resilience that we showed on defense. We were able to, anytime they just tried to get up, threw us up the guts there, or just spinning it wide, we just defended it with ease. We defended a whole bunch of set plays off the back of scrums. The only time they got us is when they managed to strip us for numbers a couple of times here. So that's one of the things I picked up during the game. I can't really bag the guy because of the amount of effort he's putting in, and I'll talk about his numbers later on there when I do a one-on-one review of him. But CNK is just doing so much work on our line that in 3 of their tries, he defended in the front line 2 or 3 tackles in a row, got caught out of position. They stripped us for numbers in the very first tackle there. CNK got caught up in the ruck. They spun it wide and had a 5-on-3 overlap. Dallin got caught flat-footed, easily whilst over in the corner there. a couple of the other tries there, the one Curran missed the tackle, SJ come out of the line. Similar situation there, that CNK got caught up in the number of tackles before that play, and he was flat-footed there. We were set up well on our left-hand edge, but they spun off to our right-hand edge, stripped us for numbers there. I'm not sure what SJ was thinking. He came flying out of the line to try and take Dearden. As a result, Curran was kind of just left standing there, looking like a stunned mullet, and just got palmed off. So I'm not going to put it 100% on Curran. You know, he was expecting his half to stay there and hold the line. No idea why SJ came out. But, hey, just a couple of examples there that, you know, it's great that Chance is doing so much work in defence there, but maybe we need to step up a little bit more with our middles and allow him to actually float a bit more at the back and adjust for those numbers, be calling out those numbers there, because when he's making those frontline tackles, who's doing the count of the numbers on defense and making sure we're not getting stripped out there. So that's one of the things that was kind of I picked up last week and kept denying again this week, and it's definitely one of our weaknesses at the moment. It is one of the causes for us being stripped for numbers out wide. Similarly for Curran, I mentioned him last week as well. He does get a little bit done there in 2 or 3 of the tries that went against us. He was caught sort of flat-footed in 2 mines, but the amount of work he's doing on his own line as well, both of those guys are going to be completely gassed, so it is bloody hard to make those decisions for the amount of minutes both of them played. So not a criticism, but an observation that it's something we're going to have to work out and get sorted. Otherwise, you know, when we get up against the likes of the Storm and the Roosters, they'll probably do it more often. Getting down here, time and possession, 23 minutes for us versus 28 for them. Not a huge discrepancy there, but again, we were down on it. They had more ball than us. We defended, held our own, and we won the game. Completion rates, we were slightly down on we've normally been up over 80%, but we're down at 77 versus their 85. Good completion for them, but they weren't able to convert. What did we have here? We had 35 sets, they had 42 sets. Big difference there, but shit, to me, what that really shows us is the level of our fitness. Years gone by, if we'd had to defend those many or that many sets, particularly on our own line, we would have been rooted and would have been just run out of the game in the final quarter. But I think I've said it every week recently, we're the team who's had the most gas in the tank. And there's a point in the last 20, 25 minutes where I don't know what the call is, but all of a sudden we just start stepping it up and really powering those hit ups straight, one after the other, up the middle there. And we got that try in the second half there from when they kicked it dead. Dallin took the quick tap from the 20 for a 7 tackle set. We went 80 metres just straight up the guts, starting with our backs, followed by our middle forwards. In the end, quick little pass off to SJ. He engaged the line. You know, Curran coming hard off his shoulder again, just like he did last week, whilst over the top of Valentine Holmes, pretty much untouched. That's something that I think the gas we've got in our tank to just finish out the back ends of those games, given the amount of defence we're doing, is a definite strength for us. The Cowboys had no answer for us, considering how much more attacking ball they'd had. So great to see the boys are able to defend that. Total number of attacking runs here, 145 for us versus 196 for them. All run meters, 1,386 for us versus 1,628 for them, 300 more meters for them. Post-contact meters was interesting, 369 for us versus 362 for them. We're making those post-contact meters. Even guys like Pompey, he used to be so passive when he hit the line. You see him just powering those legs to keep going forward. Really proud of those efforts. 4 line breaks for us versus 5 for them. Tackle breaks, 37 for us versus 16 for them. This is one of the stats we're leading the NRL in this year, is our tackle breaks. It's just that energy and that high intensity, fast play of the ball. We're catching those markers out of those tired front forwards, just going through them. Average meters per set, 39.6 for us, 38 for them. Making more meters when we've got that ball in our hands. Kick return meters, 144 for us, 105 for them. Great effort again. This is really interesting. It's probably a reflection on both teams being a little bit tired, but our play of the ball, 3.39 seconds, one of the fastest plays of the ball average we've had this year, versus theirs 3.35. They were fast as well, but we're normally at about the 3.5 or 3.8 mark for both teams, so it's a lot of fast play of the balls going on there. Offloads 4 apiece. That's more than we've had for a while there. Good to see us getting a few solid offloads there at the right time. Kicking meters were a bit down this week, 369 versus 470 for them. But I don't think we really noticed that in the game because we're able to get up there fast on our kicks and defend them well. So I don't think we're actually losing too much by a slightly shorter kicking game. Kick defusal 82% for us versus 67 for them. A couple of times there we struggled to defuse bombs. We got a couple of lucky calls there which kind of saved us, but it's still a little bit of a worry there, letting a couple bounce. The fullback and the wingers a little bit indecisive there as to who was going to take it. Defense, tackle efficiency 93.7 for us, 86 for them. Awesome effort from the boys there. Total tackles made 346 for us versus 265 for them. Shit, that's almost a third more for us. Missed tackles though, only 16 for us versus 37 for them. How good's that with all the defense we did? Negative plays, 10 errors to us, 7 to them. So this is one of the second points I noted. 70% of our errors, dummy halves. Absolute shit passing by both dummy halves here. Lussick and Cero when they came in. Passing behind the guy. Or actually, we were so lucky we didn't get pinged. Throwing those balls forward out of dummy half. Man, we've got to get that sorted when Egan's not there. Just the dummy half passing is just absolute bollocks. So 7 out of 10 of those errors came from us passing the ball behind the runner, not passing the ball right for him flat to run onto it. So I don't put those errors on our runners. I put them more on our dummy halves. Let's get that sorted out because shit, that made such a big impact on our possession. A couple of them came there at absolutely nightmare times, but shit, we defended them again, managed to hold them off. Ruck infringements, 5 for us, none for them. Bullshit. There's no way that they didn't make any. We got pinged. A couple of them were very obvious, but I thought there were a few, particularly in the second half there, that, mate, they were just bullshit calls. So, we've got to be better at it because the Warriors get targeted. I've mentioned this before, but shit, it did cost us, but again, we defended it. Now let's get on to the individuals and how they went. So most tackles made was 47 by Jazz against 34 for Robson for them. Most run meters, 180 for CNK versus Taolangi, 186 for them. Line breaks, 1 for Montoya, Taolangi, 3 for them. So he had a pretty good bloody game and we managed to defuse him. CNK played 80 minutes again. As I said, 180 run meters. He doesn't get called for as many tackles as he actually makes. Like I said, I think they only count the tackles for the first person who makes contact, but shit, he made a lot of tackles on our line. Look, I'd love to give him a 9, just purely from the amount of work he gets through. But I'm going to drop him down to an 8 this week, purely because I noticed those 3 occasions where him getting caught up there, doing a little bit too much work, led to us getting out or stripped for numbers, not being able to cover up kicks that led to tries. So, but shit, absolute workhorse, one of the best ones in the game for the amount of work he gets through, the amount of effort he puts in those runs. It takes work away from our forwards. Awesome effort. Another good game from Kossi, really solid. Looking every bit the first grade winger. Wish he had just that little bit more lightning speed and a little bit more real killer instinct for a guy his size, but shit, he does some work for the forwards there. Doesn't shirk the hard meters, straight up the guts runs, just like having a massive second rower out on the wing there. 100% tackle efficiency this week, so good on him for that. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. He constantly gets referred to by the commentators now Particularly I listen to Fox, and they really seem to rate him. So I'm happy that he's cemented his place there. And I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up playing the whole season if he doesn't get injured. Well done to him. Pompey, another really solid game. Continues to show more and more sort of confidence hitting the line there. Building up that fend. He doesn't really hit the line as hard as I'd like to him at times, but he's really pumping those legs and making the post contact meters. 90% tackle efficiency, which is up slightly. Mate, not sure what the hell that was. Jesus Christ, that gave me a fright. Might be a bit of thunder coming our way. Woo! Hope it wasn't a bomb. Lost my train of thought. So Pompey, yeah, bloody solid effort from him again. I'm going to give him a 7.5. Montoya, really interesting call to move him into the centres. I hadn't had a chance to see the pre-game. I didn't even see, any tweets or anything come out before the game there. So it wasn't until kickoff that I'd seen him go into centre there. And I've always been a bit sort of hesitant with that because I really like what he does on the wing, but shit, it worked. I thought he ran really, really well. That try set up, palming off 4 guys for the inside pass there. To Kossi, I think it was. Shit. We might have found something there. Definitely delivered more than Vela. Missed a couple of tackles, but maybe that's a sign of him just getting used to his combinations in an unfamiliar position. But for me, he stays there for the time being. Very, very happy. I'm going to give him a solid 8 out of 10 as well. On the other wing, Dallin coming in. Mixed reviews. I thought his first half was pretty average. He got caught flat-footed. I think that resulted in a couple of tries there. Maybe a bit of a lack of footy. Maybe a bit of lack of combinations. Surprisingly, he just didn't seem to have his same explosive pace a couple of times there, and he got burnt for speed. Though as the game went on, he had some bloody solid runs there. He runs massively fast into that into contact. Taking those sit-ups doesn't make the most post-contact meters, but that effort he did to take the first hit up after that ball went dead, which led to the try late in the second half there. The energy is really, really good. If I had to choose Montoya on the wing and having him on Montoya at centre and him on the wing, I kind of like it, but I still think there may be a better option with some of the young fellas down in the reserve grades long term. I don't know. His experience is good, but the mistakes he made there in the first half let a lot of points in, so I'm going to give him a 6.5. Really needs to step things up if he's going to stay on that wing there for me. Then we get to Dylan Walker. Another interesting call there to move him into 5/8. I'm wondering if it was because of the knee injury. The Fox commentators mentioned it. You see his knee heavily strapped there. Perhaps they weren't confident they could get through all of those minutes there in the middle, playing in the middle with the forwards. So shifting them out into 5/8 maybe took a little bit of pressure off him. Maybe he was a little bit gassed, I'm not sure. Or maybe they were a little bit concerned about Volkman's defence bringing him in. But either way, shit, he went well on that edge. Him, Ford, and Montoya over on that side, I thought he went really, really well. He did a lot of those covering up tackles that we saw from Tamati Martin, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see him continue to play there over the coming weeks. High impact on the game. He still did a lot of the, got involved in all the dirty work he would do on defence there up on our line. So yeah, 9 out of 10 for me. I think he was close to our best player on the day over the whole course of the game. So well done to him. SJ, he wasn't called out by a lot of people for the player of the game when I put my post up there asking for people's first, second and third point scorers there in the Warriors. But other than that, coming up out of his line a little bit quick there and letting in that try, he didn't do much wrong the whole game. Controlled it really, really well. I thought his kicking game into the wind particularly was really, really good. His continued efforts on defence, getting up there to be, to tackle be the first tackler to defuse his kicks, putting some really physical tackles on forwards to knock them back. I can't fault him. I think he was the best half on the field as far as able to control the game, running to the line and so forth. So I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10 myself. I think he definitely played better than his opposition and Chad Townsend and Dearden. So, mate, continuing to see the resurgence of SJ here in the 2023. Let's hope it continues. Adam Fanua-Blake, beast mode again. He only played, I think it was 45 minutes in total. It felt like he was out there for longer, but shit, he gets through some work. Great try again from hitting, he had no right to score that going through 5 of the middle forwards, but I'd hate for him to go down because he just takes so much energy out of the opposition. So another solid 8.5 performance for me there. Freddie Lussick at hooker. Really excellent on defence for me. 93% tackle efficiency for 31 tackles. Can't complain about his effort there and how much work he gets through on defence, but definitely his ability to control the flow of the game with his passing, throwing those passes behind or in front of the player, causing errors. Big disappointment for me. Something he's really going to have to work on if he's going to be our long-term sort of backup dummy half there. I'm going to put that whole kind of flow of that game and a huge amount of that, the way we were sort of on the back foot for so much of the game, on our dummy halves. And for that, unfortunately, I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10 because, it's the fundamental, most important part of a dummy halves game is to get that passing right. The amount of the passes that went behind or, up in the air that people had to reach for, it just really impacted our flow. So I hope he's really working on that. Hope that Egan's back because his 10-day stand down should be down and done before the next round up against the Storm there. So we're going to really need him up against that pack, and we won't be able to afford those errors. So a bit disappointing there. I'm not going to bag him completely. He's a young player, still finding his feet, and like I said, his defense was really positive, but hey, needs to step up there. So Jazz starting at prop. Didn't see that coming. As I say, I hadn't seen the readjusted lineup there. I think it worked last year when we looked at Jazz coming off or playing at prop there when we were down in numbers. Didn't really seem to work, but I guess with a whole, decent solid 4-pack working around him, he didn't struggle at all there. You saw the Cowboys try and put Granville in there at prop, which didn't work for them because he just didn't have the impact with the ball in hand, but Jazz matches it for energy and for strength with pretty much anyone in the front row in the NRL at the moment. So playing 70 minutes, most of it at prop there, leading the tackle count, not just the tackles that he gets counted for being the first guy in. He just never stopped. Just watching the energy he played with, even in the last 10 minutes of that game, it's phenomenal. People before the season started out talking how he might not even get a game in first grade this year. I would say I'd pick him second behind Tohu in my forward pack at the moment with the amount of work that guy does, to how many interchanges he saves by the amount of minutes he can play. Outstanding call to bring him in there. 9 out of 10 for me. Jackson Ford. Couple of little errors there. One was a pass behind him. The other one was just dropped it cold. Looked like a muppet, but he's just that guy who just scrambles. Like the amount of times, I think it was 3 times where he's scrambling for loose balls and he managed to pick it up, and each time unfortunately something happened before that it got called back. But he's just a friggin' workhorse that he doesn't necessarily make all those first tackles, but he just covers things up, gets involved there. The first tackler stops him, stops the opposition player, and he just comes back and just drives him back, stopping the post-contact meters. Absolute beast for me out on that edge. Very, very solid up against Tuolangi, one of the most renowned second rowers in the game. So Tuolangi, no. So he gets a solid 8.5 for me. Outstanding without being the flashiest second rower in the game. So well done to him. On the other edge there, Curran. So another one coming into the starting lineup. mentioned earlier, he just gets a little bit flat-footed there. The opposition do note it, and impacts our numbers. But shit, him and Jazz together, with the amount of energy and tackles they get through, it's like having that extra player out there. So I'm not sure whether he continues to start once Barney and Nikes come in, but can't fault his effort and his energy and the contribution, the number of tackles he made. So I'm going to give him a solid 8.5. Tohu, shit. He got smashed there at one point. I was hoping he wasn't going to go off for an HIA. The guy just looked like he had the sense knocked out of him. I don't know if it was a head knock or just like winded or whatever, but he just drags himself up off the ground. For a guy his size and his age, I don't know how he keeps going. I'm glad they gave him, what did he play there? I think it was like 70 minutes. They gave him one stint on the sideline there, but mate, talk about Captain Fantastic. We got stripped for numbers. I think it was 3 times that led to tries, as opposed to how many last week. He just makes so much a difference in the middle for me. So another 9 out of 10 performance. I know I'm giving these guys high marks, but again, so much of this game we looked like it was scrappy and we didn't have the ball, but it was all put down to those stupid passes from our dummy half. So I think actually our forwards and our backs, they did step up. They played really well, and I don't really think the overall effort and performance was reflected in the game because of those few errors that put us on the back foot. So high numbers for these boys, but I think, Warriors bias, they bloody deserve it. Righty, looking at our bench now. So Tuaupiki didn't get a game, which is a bit of a, is it a wasted interchange there? Maybe it is Walker carrying an injury there, that we needed that back there just in case. But what do we have? Tom Ali, Bunty, and Ciro. So Bunty definitely has a better impact off the bench. Even the commentators noticed that. He still only played for about 20 odd minutes, but you can just see that he makes that bigger dent in the line when he's playing against a tired forward pack there. I watched him intentionally when he came on for his first stint. He makes a lot of those secondary tackles there. He's involved in 3 or 4 tackles per play while he's on there. So I'm going to give him a bit more credit than I was giving him in recent weeks. I think he did make a solid impact there, but again, outshone by my boy Tom Ali off the bench. Shit, that guy runs. He's starting to remind me of Hytrock Cassini with the speed what's his name, Palacina. That run he took, hitting it up off the kickoff there with his head just straight forward there, accelerating into impact. Man, he's one of my favourite players at the moment. He's going to become one of the best bench props in the comp within a couple of seasons, so I hope we keep on to him. I'm going to give both of those guys, Bunty, I'll give him a 7.5, purely because I think he's stepped it up over what he's contributed as a starting prop over the past couple of weeks. And Ali, I'm going to give him an 8. Another game with 100% tackle efficiency and just the energy he brings off that bench there. Outstanding. Ciro. My man Ciro. He's not my backup dummy half. I'm sorry, Webby. It's one thing we're going to agree to disagree on at the moment, or I hope you've noticed it. For the time he's on there, at least 3 passes there he threw behind led to errors. He could have got pinged a number of times for throwing the ball forward. His fitness, he was one of the guys that I saw with his hands on his knees, and he's coming off the bench. And what did he play here? Yeah, 35 minutes off the bench, and he's involved there in the tackles. But when you've got him up against a guy like Jazz there, playing 70 minutes, who I didn't see once with his hands on his knees, I need more from him. I know he's versatile, but yeah. When we get guys like Barnett back in there, Neocorda comes back, I'm not convinced he's going to be in the team for me. Yeah. I'd love to chat to Webby about it offline and see what he sees and sees what I don't see. But yeah, a bit of a struggle for me. I'm going to give him a 6. Quick look at the Cowboys. Shit. mentioned it beforehand, drink water, almost non-existent. We managed to shut him out of the game. He got lateral all the time, but didn't really link up. Valentine Holmes, again, he got done by a couple of our centres. Got run over by Curran there. Just didn't contribute. Maybe it comes down to both their halves not able to put their outside players in decent space. But both of them, state of origin halves, got completely played out or outplayed by both of our halves there, by Walker and SJ. Taulagi on the wing, I thought he had a good game, and he led the run meters and got those tries. Actually could have got another couple, so he stepped up. Taumalolo, he only managed to get about, I think it was about 140 metres there, down from, he used to be up around 180, 200 every week. Really struggling to deliver for his team there, which is a bit of a disappointment. But, hey, I like Todd Payton. I love my man, Hickey, so I've kind of had a bit of a soft spot for the Cowboys over the past couple of seasons, but I'm stoked we got up over them. I'm really, really proud of the effort. Even though it was rough at times, we fought it out. Like I said at the start, in years gone past, we would have got our asses kicked, but we didn't. We got up, we won it. Really, really proud. That's all I can say. I hope they sat back and enjoyed a beer. I hope they went through today and had a really good video session and identified what was causing those problems. That meant that we didn't have enough possession, because we can't do that against the Storm and the Panthers and the Roosters in coming weeks. All right, can't wait to get home. Sick of being in this shitty little hotel room. I'm bloody tired from eating out every day and working these long-ass days, waking up at 5 in the morning. So next week I'll be back home in my bed, watching the game on my own couch. Looking forward to a massive effort against the Storm for Anzac Day. It's been a long time since we've got one over them. If we get some good back-ins like Egan and hopefully Barnett, I think we can beat them. They're not playing that consistently, so the Warriorholics behind them. Hope you guys are. Hopefully you got a few bandwagons back on the bloody bandwagon this week after jumping off after the loss last week. I'm all in. Hope you guys are too. Let's keep it up. Let's make it 6 from 8 next week. All in. The Warriorholic, coming to you from Tokyo for the last time for a while.